Welcome back to another reaction stream for Game Week 11. We'll be looking ahead of all the action over the weekend in Game Week 10 and looking ahead to the upcoming deadline with some of our initial reactions and thoughts. And there's a lot to unpack, of course. It's another green arrow on the wild card, but very, very minimal. Only 200,000 places. I took a -4 hit this week. It wasn't ideal to sell Heung-min Son, and that was mainly to facilitate the transfer of Bowen in for Ward-Prowse, which ended up being, well, not worth it so far. Saka did all right, same with Tsimikas, and also some big returns from Diaby. He was the biggest saver for me this week. Otherwise, it would have been a red arrow. So there's a lot to unpack, like I said. So let's get straight into your questions and comments. I see some poor scores, also some very good ones, which is good to see, of course, but there's always going to be a bit of variance and luck, unfortunately, in FPL. Joao says, hi Dylan, best Neto sub 6 million budget, only one transfer. I still think Gordon's my favourite. Good long-term fixtures. Harvey Barnes is out for several months, and Gordon has been very consistent this season. So despite facing Arsenal next, you could still buy him, bench him, and then start him in the upcoming game weeks. I think he's got, very good prospects in the coming months. And the end says 61 points. Haaland saved me from a disaster. 61 isn't too bad. It probably is a red arrow around where you are, but yeah, 61 points isn't too bad. Same with Rawund, who says Watkins captain. Watkins is a troll, in my opinion. I know he's been very consistent this season, but literally when a lot of people are captaining him, he's facing Luton Town at home. I mean, I'm not too surprised, to be honest. That's why I'm not really a big fan of captaining players like Watkins, who I don't ultimately trust. He has been very good this season, but also a bit of a troll from my perspective. Diego Arena says 63 points for my first ever FPL game week. That's good. Probably better than what I did in my first ever game week. I don't even remember what I got, so that's good stuff. Lee Forrington says 82 here. Best luck I've ever had. Gabriel not playing gives me Pinnock first sub off the bench. Fair play. I've got someone who has Pinnock. I know someone who has Pinnock on their bench, but instead it's going to be Burn coming on for 0 points. So yeah, you definitely got off lightly there. Sniper Master says 79 points with Salah captain. If I had Haaland captain, well, only would be 5 more though, to be fair. Of course, it's 5 points and it's still a significant amount, but it's not the end of the world, let's put it that way. 55 points, shocking game week, had no Haaland and double Newcastle defenders. But then again, a few weeks ago, you probably would have been laughing with Haaland blanking, Trippier again, double digits every single week, and your second Newcastle defender getting clean sheet points. So it ebbs and flows. And with Haaland, I keep on saying, there's always going to be that 1 week where you don't have him and it might cost you. And Bournemouth at home next, you would anticipate some big returns there, but honestly, with the way FPL is this season, it would not surprise me if he ended up being very underwhelming, and meanwhile Salah and maybe Watkins and all these other options do even better. So let's wait and see how it all pans out. I want a replacement for Gordon. Why? That would be my question. Why would you want a replacement for Gordon? He's still one of the best, if not the best, at his price and below, especially with Pedro Neto out with an injury for several months it could be. Singh says Killer Week was so close to going with Diaby over Matoma. Yeah, once again, I do feel for you there. I was asked about this yesterday or the day before, and I was very skeptical about it. I did go for Diaby. I said I'd go for the fixtures and go for Diaby there. And with Matoma, Europa League rotation. But it was very close. I'm not going to now lie to you and say it was very easy. And that's what I mean sometimes about these 50-50 calls that can go the other way. TM with 110 points. That's by far the most I've seen this week. So congratulations. Wouldn't surprise me if you were in the top 100 for the game week rank. 64 points, 67 including bonus points. That's good stuff. Is Gordon worth keeping? Yes. I'm very, very bullish about that. Steelix says 57 points, red arrow, Watkins captain did not pay off. Look, it was worth the punt. It was Luton Town at home. Aston Villa scored 3 goals. They averaged 3 goals per game. Watkins is arguably the most informed forward in the country. So you are a bit unlucky there. He missed a big chance, which would have been a Matty Cash assist very early on in the game. It is what it is with Watkins. Moreover, arranged Gay over Taylor on the bench. I mean, to be honest, I'm not going to come in here and say stuff in retrospect, but yeah, Taylor did have the better fixture. He did concede 2 though, and that was my prediction for the game, 2-1 Bournemouth. So you are still unlucky with how things panned out there. 80 points, still got the wild card, good stuff. I've been thinking about taking Haaland out for a few weeks, then he comes up with this masterclass. Exactly, and I said this a few weeks ago, basically. If I don't go about Haaland in my Game Week 8 wildcard, I'm just going to keep him. There's no point kind of switching, from Haaland to Salah and doing all this stuff. So I ended up just having both of them. That meant no Trippier, who has been costing me in recent weeks, but there's always going to be that one player who will cost you. This week it was Heung-min Son for me. Yusuf says Captain Watkins and ended up with 53 points. Also didn't have Salah. Yeah, I do sympathise with those of you that maybe Captain Watkins didn't have one of Salah or Haaland, but that's the way the game goes. You can't cover everybody. And Salah, of course, facing Luton Town next, but then it's Brentford and Man City, followed by 3 great fixtures, but it's going to be kind of up and down with all these assets. And this is why you should never not captain Haaland. I disagree, because you saw him blank against Wolves, against Arsenal, and he looked quite underwhelming in recent weeks. Even against Brighton, 8 points while Salah got 16. I don't think it's that simple. Haaland has Liverpool and Chelsea in Game Week 12 and 13. Yeah, difficult fixtures on paper. Oddly enough, I think Liverpool could be better for him with the way Liverpool play, and also Chelsea have some very good underlying numbers, but Haaland can score against both of them. His ceiling might not be that high compared to today or maybe in previous weeks, but Haaland is fixture-proof, as we can see. Hey man, welcome Zaid. Good to see you. Hello, I have Gordon, Solanke, Morris. I want to remove one and buy who? Well, for me, it'd be Morris. I'd sell him, but you also are more limited in terms of who you can go to. So I don't know what your budget is, but I keep on saying to people, for me, apart from Haaland, Watkins and Alvarez are the best forwards. After that, it'd be Darwin Núñez. I've said that all along. Check out my deadline stream. I'm not changing my mind there. They're my favourite forwards in the game right now. So if you can go to one of them, great. If not, consider downgrading Morris and then using those extra funds to upgrade Solanke in future weeks to one of the forwards I just described. Welcome, Dave. Good to see you. And greetings to everyone as well, of course. That's a really good point there. I actually wasn't aware of that, but Haaland isn't absolutely essential to captain every single week. I don't agree with what he said there. Taylor and Neto points on my bench. That is a bit unfortunate, to be fair. Some people asked me, would you bench Burn or Neto? And I said I'd bench Neto. I got that wrong, of course. You can't get all of them right. And Taylor one is a bit unlucky. He conceded 2 and still got a nice haul. Are all YouTube live streams having buffering issues? Yeah, look, I was looking at it just now on my YouTube control center, and it was very weird. I apologize if there are any buffering issues. I think it's just kind of an issue on YouTube's end, because I'm looking here with my streaming software, and it's all good. It's all green, no drop frames. The internet is good. So, yeah, let me know if you are experiencing any issues with the stream. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do, because I think it is all down to YouTube. 70 points without bonuses, good stuff. 64 points without bonus. You should have close to 70 there, mate. 67 points all out. Wouldn't complain. So actually captain fraud instead of robot. Who's the fraud there? Is it Watkins? Gavardio is the savior. Yeah, I remember Way saying, we were talking about this on the Discord server, and I looked at it and thought, you didn't necessarily have to sell Gavardio this week. I thought United would score, but once I saw the lineups, my 2-1 prediction quickly changed, and I was like, you know what? City could keep a clean sheet here. Just a black screen for me. Can't even access the stream. Oh my, yeah, that is very frustrating if that's the case. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why it is, but that is YouTube, unfortunately. Hopefully you can hear me at least, but yeah, that is very strange if that's the case. It might not be the case for everyone, though. This is the third stream that there's been an issue for me today. No, it's not the Wi-Fi, it's YouTube. I think I saw it in some streams across the last few days. Luckily on Friday it was calm, but I think from Saturday onwards it's just issues all round. Abhishek says what to do with Gabriel. Look, I still think he'll come back into the side. He probably just got a rest because it was Sheffield United. Gabriel played for Brazil over the international break. Constant minutes against Chelsea and all these Premier League games. So, look, in the end, Arteta was right. I was very sceptical about him being benched for Kivior, but it is what it is. Yeah, Andrew, that is frustrating. I'm not sure when the last time it happened was. Maybe it was on Thursday. Luckily on Friday, no issues, but I don't know why this keeps on happening. This is the first stream of mine that's been affected, but it is frustrating. Is Stupinian coming back? Potentially for Game Week 11. He was already in training, but it wasn't collective training. So, yeah, he should be back in the next few weeks. I'd say Game Week 11 or 12, based on the information we've got. Sold Haaland, bought Darwin and captained him. Not too bad, though. You only lost out on 3 points. It could have been much worse. Your main issue potentially is next week. But with Darwin, I thought he'd score. We kept on talking about this, that he'd start and score against Forest. With Haaland, I thought he'd score 1, not a brace and get an assist. So that was a bit of a downer. Didn't do the Morris to Nketiah move. Did Foden to Bowen. Yeah, to be honest, if I'm looking at it, I would have done Foden to Bowen, and it is what it is there. With Nketiah, he can do well in these games against Sheffield United and Burnley, but against Newcastle, I'm not really expecting anything. So it is a bit unlucky there from your perspective. And West Ham were woeful today. Absolutely woeful. I have Borro. Is he a keep or sell? I don't think he's necessarily a sell. Are there better defenders right now with fixtures in mind? Yes. But is he a sell? Not necessarily. On a wild card, I still think he's up there in terms of the best defenders to buy. 99 points, 2 million to 400k. That's the kind of week I need, really. So congratulations. I'm happy for you. And that's where it takes. Just 1 week where everything can change. Maybe you're on 100, by the way, with bonus points in mind. Arsenal versus Newcastle will cause issues. Who to drop in your team? Well, I would favour the attackers in that game. I don't really anticipate clean sheets for either team, although oddly enough, in the last two meetings at St James's Park, Newcastle won 2-0, and then last time out, it was Arsenal winning 2-0, but I think it'll be both teams scoring, probably 2-1 either way, and Newcastle have dropped, well, they've lost or drawn their last two games, so a bit disappointing across all competitions, and I think they will respond here. Keep or sell Porro? Very difficult because I don't know what the rest of your defenders are. So would I do Porro to Tsimikas? Potentially, but I don't think it's necessary. I would rather lean towards keep than sell Porro. Sold Mbumo instead of Mitoma this week. That's unlucky, to be honest. I would have done the same thing. 75 points with 10 players, had nobody on the bench to come on for Gabriel, Haaland captain. That's a good score considering that circumstance. A bit unlucky there with Gabriel, and Mbumo saved my game week. Good stuff. Sell Pedro Neto to who? For a similar price and below, Gordon's my favourite. He's not going to do very well against Arsenal, you would think, on paper, but wouldn't surprise me. And also the long-term fixtures are great. So for me, Gordon's the best at that price and below. What do you think about James Ward-Prowse and Bowen against Brentford? Well, looking at the game today, I don't know why I put myself through that game. James Ward-Prowse came off early, around 72 minutes, I think it was, and Jarrod Bowen missed some good chances. He just wasn't at it, and it was very frustrating owning him. I actually thought James Ward-Prowse would do better in this game based on a set-piece delivery, but Everton played well. Calvert-Lewin was very good holding the ball up, and they were offered just a constant threat on the counter-attack. But West Ham, you know, they had a few nice moments at the beginning with Kudus and Lucas Paqueta, but they just couldn't really get themselves going. A doggy easy sell. Yeah, look, we don't know how serious the injury is. I would suspect he'll be back for Chelsea at home. But, yeah, it all depends. If he's fit for game week 11... then I don't think it's an easy sell. But if he's still a doubt for the next week, then yeah, it just all depends on the next updates we get from Postecoglou. Lee Farrington says Maddison and Son are season keepers. Not too sure about that, to be honest. I mean, they're two of the best midfielders in the game, but you've also got Bowen, Saka, Salah, and plenty of others like Mbumo who are still doing well. So I don't think they're necessarily must-haves, but I can see what you mean. In terms of keeping them from now to the end of the season, there's no need to sell, really. I only sold Son because I wanted to fund Bowen, and so far hasn't paid off, but I'm hoping for much more in the weeks to come. What to do with Gabriel? I still think is a keep. It is frustrating, and if I'm wildcarding now, I'd probably look at Saliba instead. But just think about it. White was benched in the Champions League against Lens. Gabriel was benched here against Sheffield United. I think Saliba could have something similar, maybe against Burnley at home in Game Week 12. It would not surprise me. Arteta's kind of chopping and changing and resting players from time to time, and this could be good management, in the long term. But it is frustrating. I have Gabriel, Udogie, and Gusto. I mean, they're good picks on paper. You're a bit unfortunate with Gabriel, to be honest. Gusto, I think he's a sell anyway with the fixtures in mind. And as for Udogie, look, if he's fit for Game Week 11, I don't think he's the worst option. Hwang Hee-chan or Mitoma? Well, Hwang Hee-chan can't be ignored. He's been fantastic. And with Neto out injured, this could be slightly bad, I think, for Hwang Hee-chan in terms of his prospects of scoring. But he is now, the best option for Wolves by far. And apart from Gordon, Hwang Hee-chan's probably the best. You've got Adingra and Palmer a bit cheaper, but Hwang Hee-chan can't be ignored. So I don't mind him, but with fixtures in mind, I'd go for Mitoma. The one-time Haaland captain points have significant gains, yeah. And as a non-captainer, I have lost almost 100,000 places by Haaland getting 13 points. So I was actively hoping for him not to do well, which is always going to be a disastrous thing. I mean, yeah, but it's easy to say that now, and in my opinion, maybe it's a bit biased just selling him, but I think he was very lucky to get 3 bonus points. I think 1 would have been fair, but that's the way it goes. Romero played very well. He got 2 bonus points despite conceding. Play Adingra or Gordon? Based on the fixture, I would go for Adingra. Overall, I think Gordon is the better asset. Last game at Newcastle looked tired. Look, Adingra, I think, has a lot of potential. He's not my favourite FPL option, but I did say to people, if you are looking for a 5 million midfielder or below, I'd go for Adingra and then sell him to Palmer when Chelsea's fixtures turn for the better. But my preference is to go for more expensive midfielders, even if it means Gordon. Captaining Salah and Haaland in the wrong weeks, yeah, same here. I just haven't been able to nail that. Look, it's only a difference of 5 points this week, so it's not that bad. And Salah captainers were very lucky with the goal that Turner gifted us, so I am a bit thankful there. Weiseng says, tempted to go for Anderson over Tsimikas. I think Tsimikas played all right. I'll be honest, I only watched until 60, 70 minutes, and then I, tuned over to the Man United game. But yeah, I think with Anderson, look, he's a decent asset. He's got some great fixtures long term, but Yeah, to be honest, I'd still rather go for Tsimikas. I can see why you're saying that, and Liverpool aren't the best defensively, so it's a tricky one, I think. 85 points, no bonuses, Bob. That's good. 75 points with bonus points. Yeah, congratulations. Happy birthday there, Sniper Master. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm talking about Watkins, the fraud. Yeah, look, no matter what he does from now until the end of the season, I'm kind of in that same boat. Thank you, Abhishek. Yeah, if you are experiencing issues with the stream, maybe refresh the page and see what happens. I'm also experiencing issues when I'm on the YouTube control center. It is YouTube, unfortunately. It's not my internet or yours. Mbuma in for Son. No, I'd still rather keep Son from those two. Mbuma might offer better value for money, but Mbuma faces West Ham, Liverpool and Arsenal in the next three. I wouldn't buy Mbuma just yet. Whoever prayed for Watkins blank today, I'm going to find you, lad. I captain him. Yeah, I'm not too surprised, though. That's Watkins in a nutshell for you. Leno or a doggy to Crystal Palace defence or just save the transfer. I'd rather do Leno out to a Crystal Palace, to Johnston, but that's assuming a doggy's fit for Game Week 11. I'm going to triple captain Haaland next game week. Yeah, good luck. I mean, just don't be surprised if he does, if he's a bit underwhelming. That's the way FPL has been this season. Yeah, FPL bonus points. Yeah, he's going to get 3 bonus points, of course. He got 2 goals and an assist. Finally, Watkins blanked and Diaby returned. Yeah, I'm actually quite happy about that, because Diaby is lower owned. I get more gains from that. There's a lot of good forwards out there like Darwin and Wilson, but I'm stuck with Watkins, Alvarez and Haaland. I wouldn't say you're stuck with them. They're still the 3 best forwards in the game. Nunez is probably 4th, and then you put Wilson 5th. But once Isak comes back, that's always going to be an issue. I think Haaland got 3. Yeah, he did. Should I get Mbeumo and Trippier in for Son and Lamptey, says Jason Roy. Also, should I keep Watkins? Yeah, I'd keep Watkins. The time to sell Watkins will be Game Week 13 or 15. Don't sell him now. Trust me. In terms of getting Mbeumo, I'd probably wait for the next 3 game weeks to clear and then look to bring him in. As for Trippier, yeah, no, I just wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I'd rather keep Son, and you could always get someone else for Lamptey, maybe Tsimikas if you can, if you have a bit of money in the bank, or you could go to another, even Taylor or more importantly Lascelles. The problem with Lascelles though is that Botman will be back very soon. Potter replacements already have cash burn. Tsimikas would be pretty decent, but I don't think you need to sell Potter, to be quite honest with you. Very unlucky, maybe with to be honest, it probably should have been disallowed, the goal for Jordan Ayew. Haaland is a must. I think in certain games like 11 years, but look, with Haaland, the last couple of weeks, I think non-Haaland owners were a bit fortunate, and now things might swing the other way. I said for me, personally, from Game Week 11 onwards, that's where Haaland, those that don't go with him, should I say, those that don't have him, they might struggle a lot. And it's happened already in Game Week 10, so it is what it is. Play Flecken or Areola? Difficult one. I'm not really expecting a clean sheet for either. I'd probably go Areola. Go doggy to Tsimikas for -4. Look, I just wait for more updates. Unless a doggy's definitively ruled out, just keep him. Should we get rid of Trippier? I mean, just let's put it into perspective. That's 1 blank. Yes, he faces Arsenal next, but the fixtures long-term are still good. So it's all about what you're going to do with the extra funds by selling Trippier to Anderson. Are you going to buy Salah with that money? Son, Haaland? What are you going to do? And if you're not making a significant improvement in that department, I don't think you need to sell Trippier. I am 5,961st in the world, 699 points. That's really good. I wish I had that start. Maddison and Archer to Adingra and Darwin for 2 free transfers. I like Darwin, but not so sure if I do that necessarily. I do like Maddison still, and I'd rather keep Maddison over Darwin long term. Do you think Neto will be okay? No, to be honest. I don't know enough about the injury, but I would suspect he's out for a few weeks. Now, that might not be a long time because there is an international break very soon, but yeah, I don't think he'll be okay for Game Week 11. We've got the Salzburg version of Huang now, says Weiseng. My team, says Malik. What do you think I should do with my free transfers? I wish you could get free transfers. Only 2 free transfers there for you, I guess. If you're prepared to take a hit, then fair enough. You could maybe make a few changes, but I think Almiron is probably the biggest weakness of your team. Wouldn't surprise me now if he scored against Arsenal, but he's kind of the weak link in your squad for me. I don't know where your goalkeepers are. Selling Watkins for Ferguson or Edouard? Nah, come on. No chance I'd recommend that. Nah. If anything, sell Almiron. And look, Gordon's better long term. I would prefer Adingra with fixtures in mind. So yeah, Almiron's the one to sell there, but then how do you get to, I don't know, maybe Diaby for a short-term punt or Matoma? I'm not so sure because I don't know what your budget is. Hi Dylan, thoughts on a doggy? I'd keep him if he's clear to play for next week. If he's still a doubt, then yeah, I'd just sell, save myself the headache, a bit like Botman recently. But I don't think he's a sell. No way, saying I got this comment the other day. It's Rosario Central from Argentina. It's not Hull. I'd never be wearing that shirt. Come on. Areola or Leno next round? Tricky one. I don't think either will necessarily haul. But if I had to pick one, it's probably Areola. Yeah, I think both will blank, to be honest. I'm happy that Captain Haaland, good stuff. And I saw some people say that. And it's kind of typical. When a captaincy option kind of goes under the radar, they tend to do quite well. Sniper Bartster puts his team. I'm planning to get rid of a doggy. Who should I get? So you got Simicast, Cash, Gabriel already. I still think Gabriel's a good option long term. I think Joachim Andersen's fine, or Gay. A Crystal Palace defender could be decent. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I didn't watch El Clasico. What game was on at the same time? Arsenal. So yeah, I was watching Arsenal, so I really didn't care about El Clasico. Just saw the goals, really. And Barcelona played well, but yeah, Madrid were better in the clutch moments, and Barcelona switched off at the very end. Patience is the key. Never make hasty decisions and sell players. Now, look, I've been culpable of this as well. You know, I've had some disasters this season, and hence why I'm having a very bad start. But yeah, it's just with a doggy, I can understand why. I sold him myself, but once I sold him, I actually was a bit fearful ahead of the deadline because I thought Spurs would keep a clean sheet and that a doggy would play. So sometimes you need luck when it comes to these decisions, to be fair. What to do with Luis Diaz and James Ward-Prowse? Well, I'd look to sell both. I still think Bowen's a good option long term. So Diaz to Bowen and James Ward-Prowse to, I think Gordon long term's good, but apart from Gordon, I'd mainly be looking at Mitoma. I think those two would be fine. Alex says, hi mate, who'd you bring in for James Ward-Prowse, who is a cheaper option? Well, my favourite is Gordon. Another one would be Hwang Hee-chan, Adingra, and Palmer. They're probably the top four if you're looking at cheaper options in that order, I'd say. Maybe Hwang Hee-chan over Adingra. That's kind of debatable. But my favourite would be Gordon long term, definitely. Gordon to Hwang or Maddison to Foden? I mean, Foden would be a great one-week punt against Bournemouth, but Maddison's a better option, period. So I don't think I'd do either, to be honest. If I had to pick one, maybe Gordon to Hwang, but I don't think that's necessary. Son or Maddison? As I've said before, if you've got the funds, I'd keep Son. But just think about your future moves. How would that extra million impact you? And it's actually 1.4 million technically. How high is Bellingham's ceiling? Well, obviously it's very high. He's already a high level. But I do think the goals are inflating his reputation a little bit. And look, football is about goals. It's the most difficult part of the game. But, you know, for example, a player like Musiala with more technical ability, he's maybe not getting the credit he deserves because he's not scoring as many goals as Bellingham. What to do with Neto? Sell to Gordon? Yeah, I think long term that's the best move. It might not pay off in Gameweek 11, but Gordon is the best at that price and below. Am I crazy for starting Maguire next week? Good fixture, but yeah, with Maguire, I've seen a few people talk about buying him on the wild card. I just can't really go there. And look, when I saw that lineup for United today, you know, you just knew that they were going to lose. Let's put it that way. Patrick says, hi Dylan, went superb this week with 80 points and a big green arrow, although I had a Watkins captain. Yeah, fair play. You know, that's a really good score. That's a sign of a strong team when your captain is a bit disappointing. Was Haaland really that good? I think that's United being really bad. One of them was a contentious penalty. The second one, I mean, look, it's Haaland, so it was a tap-in. And the third one was a good assist, to be fair. That was good play by him. But United literally gift-wrapped, I think, some of the goals. Sister Parker says, hey all, loving the weather. Nah, it's awful. Typical. Yeah, not interested in La Liga. To be honest, La Liga here is peak until basically when Ronaldo left. That was kind of like the last one. Then you just had Messi, who made it somewhat interesting. But yeah, after Messi left, that's like the final nail in the coffin. Gay versus Gabriel consideration, or just stick with Arsenal defence? Well, this week I'd start Gay over Gabriel. I don't think Arsenal keep a clean sheet. They can, but will they? I don't personally think so. In terms of who I'd rather have long-term, it's still Gabriel. Almiron to who? Depends on your budget. If you can go to Mitoma, I'd highly recommend it. Otherwise, I'd look at Gordon and probably Hwang Hee-chan. I think they're better than Almiron. Haaland, Salah, Watkins, or another captain next week. To be honest, maybe just captain whoever I put as my vice or who I don't captain. I'm not so sure about it. It's between Haaland and Salah for me. They're my top two options. I'm going for Haaland at the moment, but I don't know. I'm kind of having that feeling about going against the grain and going for the second or third most popular option instead of, the one that everyone's going to go to. Yeah, Kane scored a terrific goal, and I think he scored a hat-trick, right, in that 8-0 win. And it was 0-0 at half-time, which is crazy. 90 points this week. Let's go, Adam. Great stuff. Is Newcastle defence really worth doubling up on? I mean, I've only done it because Lascelles is at 3.9 million. Now he's 4. Look, they're still good, Just one blank doesn't mean they're suddenly useless. It was kind of a freakish week where Burn, Lascelles, and Trippier all got 0 points, and meanwhile Cher got the assist. So it kind of ebbs and flows. But ultimately, yeah, a double up in Newcastle defence is fine. Do you need it? No. But is it a good option? I definitely think so. Sterling replacement under 7.7 million for next week only. Let me double check this. Let me just double check this in terms of price. But I think I'd go for Foden. He's 7.5 million. Bournemouth at home is a tasty fixture. And I even mentioned it before the United game. So yeah, I think Foden would be right up there. There's probably a few others. Even Bowen's a good option. But probably Foden based on the fixture. Let's see. Hopefully no more issues. Is Bellingham anywhere near Mbappe Haaland standard right now? It's difficult to say. Remember, it has been 10 games in the season so far. Probably 12 or so with cups involved. But yeah, I'd probably kind of tone it down a little bit. I still think Mbappe and Haaland are better, especially Mbappe. But yeah, in terms of midfielders, Bellingham is right up there. But I do think the goals are inflating, the whole perception about him. He's been clutch. But his all-round play isn't that much better than it was at Dortmund a few months ago, if we actually look at it that way. Neto and Archer to Nketiah and Hwang. Look, with Nketiah, yes, I think games like Burnley at home in Game Week 12, he can do really well, but I don't really trust him in these difficult games like Newcastle away, and I don't really trust him to put the ball in the back of the net in those difficult fixtures. Hwang is absolutely fine. I like that. Good replacement for Neto. Gordon's another one to consider. And look, Archer to Nketiah is an upgrade no matter what, but you will have 8 attackers by doing so, and you will have to bench one of these players every single week as well. So with Nketiah, just be prepared to be frustrated. In certain games, he can do really well, but I'm not really expecting anything next week. Pranav says, one thing I learned from FPL is not follow the trends. It's Watkins second blank, and people started bantering him. Yeah, look, let me be real about it. Watkins isn't a terrible asset, but for some people, especially those like me who sold him around game week 6 or 7, and then he gets like 23 points in one game and stuff like that, these things happen, but it is very frustrating. And now that he's a very popular captaincy option, it's not a surprise that he does blank. So look, FPL is just not simple. That's, the kind of the best thing you can do, or the best way you can summarize it. Can you just suggest someone for Neto and Foster? Well, I've mentioned Neto replacements a million times. Gordon and Hwang Hee-chan would be right up there if you're looking for cheaper options. As for Foster, I mean, at a similar price, you'd say Nketiah, but yeah, I don't know what your budget is there. And also, if you've got that front 2 and that midfield 4, you don't really need to replace Foster. If anything, you can downgrade him to get more money, and then you can use that to upgrade a starting 11 player. Bench one of a doggy, Saka and Trippier next week. Difficult one with Trippier and Saka facing each other off, but they can still haul in the same game. I think a doggy has the lowest ceiling of the 3, but if he does start, you'd probably back Spurs to keep the clean sheet. You don't really see Chelsea scoring many goals in any scenario, regardless. So it all depends, really. But yeah, my initial instinct will be a doggy, just because of how good Trippier and Saka are. Not sure what you're on about, Wasting, because Rice scored a great goal. Enzo wasn't even that good. And I like Enzo Fernandez, but I think that's it's a bit biased. Burn to Simicas, hold Gabriel for Burnley. Is he a high rotation risk? I thought he was nailed for now. Yeah, I'd hold Gabriel for Burnley. Like I said a few minutes ago, it wouldn't surprise me if it was Saliba now being benched in Game Week 12 for Burnley at home, because Ben White got a rest a few weeks ago in the Champions League. Gabriel just got it, and it wouldn't surprise me if Saliba also got one very soon. It's just the way Arteta's going about it. I do like it, actually. I was a bit sceptical about Kivio in for Gabriel, and if it was a better team than Sheffield United, I think it could have been costly. Does Gabriel only start big games from now? I don't really agree with that kind of sentiment. Gabriel has been very frustrating this season, FPL-wise, but he's not put a foot wrong. For me, he's one of the best centre-backs in the league. He's probably Arsenal's best centre-back as well. And like I said, it would not surprise me if Gabriel's starting game week 12 while Saliba's benched. So I don't think that's the case. If Gabriel's benched yet again for Burnley, then maybe you're right. But if I'm being completely honest and saying what I feel, I don't think that's the case. 78 minus 8, 70 points. That's good stuff, Owa. Haaland looks super hungry this week. Yeah, and look, he got the penalty, he got that chance, and I think United just defended very poorly. Their lineup was awful, and it was only going to be one result, really. The worst thing is FPL is live points. I was leading in my mini league until Watkins blanked and Trippier blanked and Haaland exploded. Yeah, look, things change very quickly in FPL. In my mini leagues, speaking from personal experience, things are very similar between me and those that I'm trying to chase down. So it is very difficult to make up those gains, and sometimes you just need a massive haul from one differential. Time to sell Trippier. Let's be calm about it. Trippier's blanked once. He faces Arsenal next, but he can still haul in that game, and the long-term fixtures are great. So my kind of logic with this would be, if you're looking to sell Trippier, fine. But I'd only do so if you're going to get Son, Saka, Salah or Haaland, a player of that quality with the extra funds. If you're not going to do that, then why sell Trippier? Because which defender's better than Trippier? I don't really think anyone is, if I'm being quite honest. The long-term fixtures for Newcastle are still very good. I sold a doggy for Tsimikas, so did I. Unfortunately, I also sold Son in order to fund Bowen, so I didn't get everything spot on this week. Should selling Neto be a priority this week or all the other transfer? I don't know what the rest of your squad is, but I think Neto will miss out. I would wait in either scenario just for any future updates, just in case a miracle does happen or that the injury isn't too serious. But in my opinion, he will be out. But I'd wait until later this week. If Neto is definitively ruled out, I'd look to sell him to Gordon or Hwang Hee-chan. Would you play Maguire versus Fulham or Charlie Taylor versus Palace? Difficult one, but I'd probably go for Maguire. I'm thinking Tsimikas for Burn, or would you do Gabriel out even though I just going for Tsimikas and worried he'll be benched versus Burnley? I don't think he'll be benched against Burnley. I can understand why you feel that way. And if he does, I think that's the final nail in the Gabriel coffin, really. And look, Tsimikas in for Burn looks like a great transfer anyway. I don't mind that, but I wouldn't sell Gabriel necessarily. Hi Dylan, big green for me with 84 points. Nice. Even with Watkins captain, going a doggy to Gay for my free transfer this week. Good stuff. I've also got Anderson. And to be honest, I was a bit fortunate because my original plan was to sell Anderson, and once the doggy got that yellow flag, I sold him instead. So I've got that Palace defender already. 67 points without Haaland, good stuff. The RB saved me really, same here. Darwin 10 points are nice too. Does team value matter? Well, look, it's not the most important thing in the world, but I think for those looking to wildcard soon, it is a big advantage. It definitely is. There's no doubt about it. And you can also fit more of these top assets in, like Trippier, Salah, Son, Saka, etc. But look, you can still do really well and not have the best team value. I'm not sure, to be honest, but it does seem quite poor most weeks. I think the week where Haaland blanked and Salah got that massive haul against Brighton, that was probably my worst week. Then remember the game Chelsea played against Dortmund last year, literally scoring Bellingham, and now he decided to join a real club. I mean, yeah, I still think Bellingham played all right in those games, but because he's getting goals now for Madrid, he's kind of seen as the best midfielder in the world, which I don't necessarily agree with. Hold Watkins and Darwin, I should have held Haaland. Look, it's easy to say that now, but that's why I keep on saying with Haaland, there's always that risk when you go without him. And look, my prediction was for him to get 4 goals in the next 3 games, and that was before Brighton. He scored against Brighton, got 2 goals already, and now he has Bournemouth at home next. So he could probably easily, wipe the floor with that prediction as well. Cannon fodder says 79 points, Green Arrow up to 68k. That's a great start to the season. The RB to Saka in future game weeks, yes. Game week 12 could be a good opportunity. If not, game week 13/15. Saka or Son out too to bring Haaland back one day. If you've got Maddison, I'd sell Son and keep Saka. Diversify your attack a little bit. But Son is in incredible form, of course. And in terms of goals, he's right up there for the Golden Boot race. Went for -4, Louise and Watkins, now 68 after deduction. At least Louise did something. Watkins, as usual, a bit frustrating. At the moment, I think so. But I think once the fixtures really turn, I think there will be a drop-off. And look, I'm not even trying to be biased here. My genuine opinion is that in the last few games, Spurs have been a bit fortunate. And against Palace, on another day, it easily could have been another result. And when they play the likes of Villa, Man City coming up very soon, I think that's where you could start to see a drop-off in performances and also in terms of results. But That doesn't mean Maddison and Son suddenly become useless. They're still two of the best assets in the game, but I don't think they'll be considered essential by that stage. Do you think Gvardiol starts in Game Week 11 too? Difficult for me to say. Akanji will be back now from suspension. So, if I'm not mistaken, by the way, did he get a straight red? No, he got a second yellow. So, yeah, Akanji will be back. Gvardiol could be benched as well. You've also got Ake too. So, honestly, I have no idea. Whenever I think of the worst captaincy, I just think of Dennis. I did that as well. Thankfully, I didn't triple captain him. I think my worst ever captaincy ever is with Sadio Mane. I triple captained him in a double game week. He had a great record against Wolves and West Ham. In 40 minutes of the first game of the double game week, he gets subbed off with an injury, misses the second game, whilst my vice-captain Salah gets like a double-digit return against West Ham. That was probably the worst I've ever had. Bellingham is getting compared to Zidane. Yeah, look, he might be a better goal scorer than Zidane, but nowhere near the level of that, you know, in terms of footballing ability. Do you think one of Diaby and Watkins can haul in a game? They can both haul in the same game. It's just going to be quite rare. I don't get why people knee-jerk out a player that has one good week or one bad week. Look at their form overall. That is what history in FPL is for. Yeah, that's completely fair enough. And look, I sold Son after he got 14 points. I knew the risk. And as I said in my team selection, the only reason I did that was to fund Bowen in for Ward-Prowse, who's playing a deeper role. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have done it. I would have just kept Son, gone without Saka. If Saka ended up doing really well, then fair enough. And look, I also got Tsimikas in, so it's not that simple sometimes. And I agree with you. Sometimes, you know, people just look at, you know, a one result and they kind of knee-jerk. And we have to try be level-headed. And look, sometimes I haven't been, and I'm trying to improve on that this season. What are the three main factors in comparing two players in FPL? I mean, kind of basic ones is form, fixtures, and probably overall footballing ability. But it's not that simple. There's always things that, you know, play a part, such as a player's record against a certain team. You've also got injuries to one club or the other. And for example, Sheffield United having 8 injuries against Arsenal, that plays into Saka's hands. But in the end, he got no goals or assists officially. So look, football is not a simple science. FPL is certainly not. And you need some luck ultimately. What do you think about Gabriel? I still like him long term. I don't think he'll be benched against Burnley, which is what people will be concerned about. If he is, of course, then afterwards I'd be very inclined to sell. But it's difficult because it's that fine line. Do you sell him now, avoid the risk, or do you keep him and maybe that risk is rewarded? You know, I would not have been surprised if Gabriel started against Sheffield United and scored a 15-pointer with a goal. And it's just those fine margins sometimes in FPL. 78 points and Green Arrow into the top 600k. Good stuff. I still think Enzo could be a better player than Bellingham. Look, I agree. And on the international stage, Enzo's been way better. But in terms of club level and also the club they're at, does play a part. You know, Bellingham is definitely shining a lot more. But as we said back in January, Enzo made a big mistake going Chelsea, in my opinion. I'm eyeing up a City triple up from here on out. It's this time of year they always go on fine form. I mean, look, City are consistent at all times. You know, there's always this kind of narrative that they start the season slowly, but remember they had 6 wins out of 6, and it was only, you know, they only started dropping points and losing because Rodri got suspended, in my opinion. So I'm not so sure. And also with triple up in City, fair enough, you know, big rewards there in games like Bournemouth coming up, but there's always that rotation factor. And look, Foden's played every single game so far. You'd expect him to once again, Alvarez as well, but you also want a bit of diversity in your attack. With the defence, Man City keep rotating there. So I'd just be a bit careful. Maybe a double up is fine. If you want to go for the triple up, I'm not going to discourage you. But I don't think now it's all of a sudden, yeah, City are must-haves. My bench is looking strong now. Should I wait for nice fixtures and bench boost or get Haaland by Game Week 15? Well, if you're really happy with your bench and you think it's going to score 15 plus points, then I'd be, you know, considering the bench boost. But there will be double game weeks later in the season, and you might have an even stronger bench as well. Abhishek says, is Man City and Brentford double game week 20 almost confirmed? No, but it's very likely. It's likely according to some fixture experts, you could call them, but I wouldn't say it's an absolute certainty or almost confirmed. We have to wait a little while longer for any confirmation. I got 73 points without Salah. Good stuff. The only way I can bring him in is to sell Trippier and Son. But that's the problem. Selling 2 great assets for 1 great asset, yeah, might pay off against Luton, but what about afterwards when he faces Brentford and Man City? Especially Man City. Brentford he can do really well in any way. Man City, you'd probably expect 1 goal contribution max. So Old Trafford booed on Haaland. I felt bad for him. I think they booed the substitution. I don't think they booed Haaland. People overlooked Bellingham. I still prefer Valverde, to be honest. Yeah, look, I think Valverde is a quality player. They're quite a similar level, in my opinion, to be honest. But I think Musiala is very underrated. Hold Pedro or sell. Already have Trippier, Burn, and cash. That's Joao Pedro. I'd sell him. I don't know whether to take the -4 for Salah. Who are you selling, though? Understand your point, but a City triple up with those players in that list would be considering the rotation risk. Yeah, I can see what you mean. So even if one gets benched, you have two starting in fixtures like Bournemouth. But the games aren't that great until Game Week 16 in general. And yeah, they're fixture proof anyway. I completely know that. But rotation is still an issue, especially with the Champions League coming up. From January onwards, when City tend to be on the absolute best form, the FA Cup is also coming into play. So I'm not so sure. Do you plan to watch Napoli Milan today? Probably not. I mean, I'm going to be streaming for a little while longer. Then, I'll call it a day, relax a little bit. But no, I don't think I'll watch Napoli Milan, to be fair. I'm probably going to take a little break from the football. Should I keep Anderson now? Has some good fixtures coming up. Already have Gabriel. I'm thinking of benching Gabriel as Newcastle. There's no need to sell Anderson. Now, do I think Crystal Palace defenders are must-haves? No. But if you have one, I'd definitely keep with the fixture runs coming up. I'm not criticising my club, but sometimes it's frustrating to see good players' potential are limited. Yeah, look, I understand that. And, when Arsenal were terrible for many years, I was also, of a similar mind. And it is frustrating. But ultimately, the club is most important. If things start to go right, you have a board that start to get their act together, a manager who is able to implant their ideas, and then the players start clicking, then all of a sudden things change very quickly. But I just think Chelsea need a run of fixtures, and obviously the ones coming up are very poor and things are looking grim. But I think it just takes maybe one big result. For example, if they beat Spurs, which I don't think they will, but if they did something like that, that could change everything. Selling Son and Trippier worth a -4 to Salah? I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. Like I said, in one individual week, it might be great. But what about the long term? What about when Salah faces City in 3 game weeks time? I'm not so sure. And look, I like Salah. I think he's better than Son and Trippier. But is it worth selling both for Salah? I'm not so sure. And what's your other transfer? Who are you getting in for Trippier? That's another big question. Should I sell or bench or keep Bowen? Keep, and I'd start him. Thoughts on bringing in Mbumo and Branthwaite for Burn and injured Anderson in Game Week 14? Look, I have to say Branthwaite was one of the players who impressed me the most in that game against West Ham. And even against Arsenal, he played very well when I watched that game too. So yeah, Branthwaite is, look, in terms of an overall player, his potential is very high. As an FPL option, I'm still not quite there yet. I just think West Ham were poor, if I'm being quite honest, and I'd rather keep Burn. I honestly would. Mbumo, fine. When the fixtures turn, great option, but I wouldn't bring Branthwaite in for Burn. Sell Solanke for Foster? Not too sure about that, to be honest. Mbumo 6.6 as well. Yeah, I discussed him in the last video. I said he's a sell, and look what he did, but his underlying numbers are insane. I think his XGI is like 8 to 9 now. It's absolutely incredible for a midfielder at that price. Thank you to Stupaki. As he says, smash the like button and subscribe for new. It costs nothing. And there might be issues with the stream because of YouTube, but unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. Tustapaki says, I'm thinking of doing Simicast for Burn. Yeah, like I said to you, Tustapaki, if I had to pick, it would be Simicast in for Burn, but I don't think that's absolutely necessary. If you just want to avoid the risk, I understand why you'd want to sell Gabriel, but look, with Simicast, he faces Luton next. Yeah, it could be a great return, but what about afterwards? In the next 2 anyway. You'd probably bench him in those fixtures, especially City, and then afterwards it's good again. So yeah, Simicast, good long-term buy, but I don't think he's suddenly essential, to be quite honest with you. Ketan says, sell Julian Alvarez for Anderson, Newcastle, to Matoma or Maddison to Son. So sell Julian for Anderson to Matoma or Maddison to Son and Anderson to 5.6 million midfielder, maybe Palmer. I'd just rather do Anderson to Matoma. I think that's the best move. Maddison to Son, I mean, they're both good options. Maddison offers better value. I don't think I necessarily sell one for the other. So yeah, my personal preference is selling the injured Anderson for Matoma. Thank you, Seri. 5.3 million replacement for Neto. Still a dinger for me. And then you can sell to Palmer when the fixtures turn and when Chelsea finally show some consistency. Yeah, look, basically my advice to anyone watching and seeing what my response will be, do the opposite. I'm probably going for Haaland as things stand. And look, honestly, in the end, I might just flip a coin and decide. It's really close between the two. Whenever I captain a player, they blank. Luck really matters. Yeah, look, sometimes it's just the way it goes. I even said it before Game Week 10. With Salah, he just produced 2 massive returns in a row. Is he going to do it again? You kind of have that doubt in your mind. Haaland hasn't done extremely well for a very long time. So sometimes things just average out, really. Szoboszlai, I think as an overall player, great option. I think he's made a massive difference to Liverpool. FPL-wise, no. I'm still not there yet. I saw people say Madrid 100 million mid compared to Chelsea too. I mean, if Bellingham joins Chelsea, yeah, I completely agree. He might do what Enzo's doing, where he's consistently being 7 out of 10, but because they're not getting the results, he's not going to get the credit he deserves. So, yeah, and either way, Enzo has a wild card, Bellingham doesn't. Just saying. Goddard says, anyone no timeline on Robertson return? Well, what I saw was that he's going to be out for several months, at least 10 weeks. I even saw someone say up until January. I'm not sure if that's, entirely true. But yeah, a couple of months is definitely on the cards. I mean, I'd be surprised if he's back by early December. Let's put it that way. So yeah, it's enough for Tsimikas to be a good option for the next couple of weeks. Let's put it that way. Cannon Fodder says, no, not worth it. Not enough attacking returns. I agree. In certain games like Aston Villa and Everton, or even the game that just went by against Forest, he could be great. But is he going to be consistent? Not really. And with Liverpool, Salah's by far the best option. After that, you're looking at Nunez up front, but even he could be rotated from time to time. So let's show a few different screens, then we'll answer a few final questions before wrapping up. Just a quick reaction stream today. Hopefully YouTube get their act together, because it's very frustrating for both viewers and the creator to have any issues with streams that are caused by YouTube themselves. So let's go to the fixture ticker. Brighton are now top. Palace, Sheffield United, Fulham and Wolves are in the top 5. Arsenal went from first, by the way, to mid-table after that Sheffield United fixture. That says a lot. The bottom 5 are Chelsea, Bournemouth, Luton Town, Aston Villa and Newcastle. So things are going to change very soon. And there's a lot of fixture swings to keep track of, like Aston Villa from Game Week 13 onwards. Predicted points, you got Haaland top with 9. There is a massive difference between Haaland and second placed Heung-min Son with 6.9. Salah's third. Maddison and Bruno complete the top 5. Wilson and Mbumo, Tsimikas, Wissa and Watkins are in the top 10. My current feeling on the captaincy is Haaland with Salah second. Let's see how it all pans out in the end. In terms of price changes, you've got Douglas Luiz and Johnston potentially going up very soon. You've got a few on the verge, on the precipice, like Hwang Hee-chan, Tsimikas, Pau Torres, and a few others like that, Raya even. And in terms of those going down, Udogie, Sterling are very close. The rest aren't really great FPL options, if we're being quite honest, but that is a great website to use, fplstatistics.co.uk. And anything else we want to show you? Let's talk about the captaincy this week. Salah was by far the most captained in the top 10k, with almost 61% of those captaining him. Second was Watkins, and third was Erling Haaland. A massive differential for those that captain him. And me not captaining him actually cost me around 80,000 places, which is a bit frustrating to say the least. But those are the captaincy figures for Game Week 10. And let's see what happens in Game Week 11. Nketiah or JP? Or João Pedro? It would be Nketiah as a short-term punt whilst Gabriel Jesus is out. That Chelsea game was too boring, but that last goal made Stamford Bridge go empty. Yeah, I mean, it is Brentford versus Chelsea. Chelsea should have scored, to be honest, and I just think their quality in both boxes has cost them this season, especially in terms of goal scoring. It's K-Man says, hi Dylan, I have Burn, Cher, Udogie, Kabore and Al-Dakli. I probably just butchered that name. With one free transfer, who would you take out and get? Well, I think the clear ones to sell there are Kabore and Al-Dakil. They're definitely the worst there. Of course, Udogie could be injured. If he is, he's the most expensive, so naturally you'd sell him. But I have a feeling he'll be back for Chelsea. I genuinely do. And if that's the case, he's a keep. And I'd look to sell Kabore and Al-Dakil. But I think your defence is quite weak in general, even if Udogie's fine, because you've got, 2 Newcastle defenders. That's absolutely fine. But you don't really have the cover on your bench with your 4th and 5th option. So I would definitely look to improve that. Maybe go to Tsimikas, Joachim Andersen, Gay. All these options would be pretty good for you. Even Gabriel long term. I have 2 free transfers, 0.5 million and Neto to sell. Yeah, with Neto, look, you could maybe find the funds to stretch to Matoma. Or you could even go up to Mbumo long term. But I think if I'm selling Neto at a similar price or below, I'd go to Gordon. That's what I'd look to do long term. Imagine Bellingham becomes the next Dele Alli. Yeah, I don't think that will happen, to be honest. I think Bellingham is more of an all-round player than Dele Alli, and maybe the mentality is another big thing as well. Yeah, it's buffering for a lot of people, I think, Goldhead. Unfortunately, it's a YouTube issue. I have enough to sell Neto to Matoma, but we'll only have 0.1 million in the bank. If I sell him to Gordon, we'll still have 0.9 million in the bank. But what would you do with that extra 0.9 million? That's my question. If you're looking to maybe buy a Son or Saka or someone really good with that extra money, then fair enough. I would maybe go to Gordon. But to be honest, look, if I'm being, quite frank, I'd probably go to Gordon anyway. I just think long term, he offers better value for money. Matoma could be rotated more with the the Europa League. And look, Gordon might start in midweek against Man United in the Carabao Cup, and that could impact his minutes against Arsenal at the weekend. But overall, my preference is Gordon. Alvarez or Wilson? Still Alvarez for me. Neto will drop price today. I just checked it now. Is Salah the GOAT of FPL? I think in the last couple of years, yeah. I didn't play it back in the day when Henry was a great option and stuff like that, but yeah, he's definitely up there. He probably is, to be fair. Is Hwang Hee-chan a shout? His XGI is 0.68 and he scored 5 and 7. Yeah, I still think he's a shout. He's a good finisher. He's got a lot of potential. But is he the best? I don't think so. I think Gordon's even better. I'm thinking about at least Burn starts, Gabriel's a worry. That's understandable, to be fair. If you just want to get rid of that risk, then yeah, fine, sell Gabriel. But in my opinion, he will start against Burnley. That's just my opinion. 300k to 700k took a -8. Watkins, Tsimikas and Adingra in. Jackson, Akanji and Neto out. Yeah, that's just very unlucky. Tsimikas did well for you at least. Adingra, disappointing. And Watkins, what can we say about him? Still not really feeling over Trent because he's just far too expensive for that price. I think Trippier is definitely a better option long term. And after Luton, it's Brentford and Man City. Yeah, fair enough. 2 clean sheets in the next 2 is possible. Then it's Man City. And then afterwards, yeah, some good games. But I'm just not too sure. I'd just rather go for Tsimikas while Robertson's out. Not sure what to do with Ward-Prowse. Yeah, I think Ward-Prowse to Matoma is absolutely fine. I do prefer Gordon long term, but that is a good choice. Good replacement for Gabriel. I'd keep Gabriel, just saying it right now. But if you are to sell, Tsimikas is very easy. What's the problem with YouTube? No idea, mate. Honestly, no idea. By the way, do you have a game in the weekend? Sound like it? Do you have a game? Do you have a game? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Yeah, should I keep Neto or sell? Well, look, my overall recommendation is to wait until later in the week for more updates, because if Neto is somehow available, then he's still a good option in the next couple of weeks. But in my opinion, he will be out, and it could be up until, I don't even know, Game Week 12, Game Week 13. Let's wait and see. But I wouldn't be too worried about price drops just yet. I think the transfer activity will mainly happen in a couple of days' time. Who do I bench between Maddison and Mbeumo next week? I'd rather bench Mbeumo, but he is on penalties. He's got great XGI, even better than Maddison. And look, he can do well against West Ham. Ideally, I'd start both. In which scenario is a -4 hit worth it? Look, there's no simple science to this. Of course, when you sell injured players and you're bringing in someone long-term, that's always going to be worth it, in the long term. If you're bringing in a great asset like Son, Trippier, Salah, Saka, ultimately those -4 hits will probably end up going well as well. So, look, there's not an exact science. It all depends on the context, really. Still have Luis Diaz. Do you think I should keep him? Yeah, I'd probably look to sell him. Obviously, very poor situation for him personally. Hopefully, everything is resolved. And look, FPL-wise, I do think there are better options elsewhere. Best time of the game week to transfer before price drop or on deadline day, as injuries are unpredictable, says Pranav. Look, for me, I'd rather have the information than the price rises and the drops, to be honest. Of course, when you do gain that 0.1 million and everything's fine, that's obviously ideal. But yeah, for me, it would be once you have all the information, you see some press conferences as well. Spurs should have gone for Hwang Hee-chan instead of Richarlison. They should have gone for many players instead of Richarlison, but they wasted the 60 million. Yeah, unfortunately, there is buffering. That is a shame. Like I said, there is nothing I can do. It is a YouTube issue. And yeah, it's the first time it's happened to me as well. But yeah, we'll go for a few more questions and then wrap things up. We do have only 60 people watching, but let's try to get the likes up to 100 plus. And yeah, let me know, by the way, in the comment section, once you watch this back, if the video is fine. Hopefully that's the case. But in terms of the stream itself, it is largely impacted, unfortunately. I'm on mobile too. Yeah, I tried to watch it from my YouTube control center and I couldn't do it. It's really frustrating. Not buffering for me using mobile YouTube to watch. Yeah, fair enough. What was Dylan talking about with issue YouTube? Yeah, if anything, yeah, there's no real point, I think, of me saying it again or repeating myself. But if you watch it back, then you can see what it is. But Yeah, if I go to OBS now, it literally says 0 drop frames. It's green. It's all good. It's YouTube. So blame them. Should Ten Hag bench Rashford? I think so. It's been the case since, well, just a couple of weeks now. You know, maybe you would have given him a bit of benefit of the doubt after he scored against Arsenal, but ever since he's been absolutely awful. Man, I have Tsimikas and Cash. Well, at least they got points, you know. That's decent. 7S says, not buffering for me at all. Yeah, it's kind of random, I think. Here in the States, the stream is baby smooth. Yeah, honestly, I have no idea then. It might be a mobile issue, I'm not sure. But buffering on both desktop and mobile for me. Doing good for me, says Ranak. Okay, thank you. Is it safe to sell Gabriel, the Arsenal defender, for Tsimikas? Well, look, Tsimikas is starting games. Gabriel just got benched, but in my opinion, Gabriel will start against Newcastle and Burnley. And if anything, it could be Saliba being benched in Game Week 12 when everyone is looking to buy him. So, look, with Arteta, he's kind of rotating everyone gradually from time to time. So it is what it is. Legla says, try to sign out and sign in. Yeah, to be honest, though, people shouldn't have to do that to watch a stream. So, yeah, that's just YouTube at fault. But then again, it is the first time it's happened to me in how many years I've been streaming. So I'll give them a bit of benefit of the doubt, but YouTube isn't perfect, as we all know. Yeah, Goldhead UK, to be honest, I don't think it's a geographical issue, to be quite honest with you. But we have been streaming for an hour. We have covered most of the key questions. I'll go for a few more and then wrap things up. Is there a transaction limit in fantasy draft? I don't play FPL draft, to be honest, so hopefully someone else can answer. Did Bruno really deserve to take away the United armband? Look, he is United's best player, but what I mainly would have issue with is Bruno playing on the right wing. Why? Just why would you play your best creator and someone who thrives in the attacking midfield role on the right-hand side in so many big games? I honestly don't get that. You suggested Tsimikas for Gabriel, but I already have him. What can I do? Well, other defenders you can go to include Crystal Palace ones like Joachim Andersen, Pedro Porro long-term. I also like Cash for the next 3 or 4 game weeks, but I still like Gabriel long-term. So, you know, you could do something like Gabriel to Saliba, and what if Saliba gets benched in Game Week 12, which is what I think could happen. You know, it's not really a concrete answer. Stream at the Discord server. To be honest, only 5 people would watch if I did that. Gordon or Diaby long-term? Long-term Gordon, definitely. But if I'm buying one now, I'd probably go for Diaby for the next 3 or 4. And I said this last week as well. But long-term, it's definitely Gordon. No doubt about it. Who would you play, Gabriel or Burn? I mean, look, you'd probably favour Gabriel a little bit. The Newcastle home advantage, they're very difficult to beat at St James's Park. Arsenal's overall record is grey against Newcastle, but it's a very tricky fixture. I think both concede anyway. Still have a doggy, sell him. I'd prioritise selling Diaz first, especially if you have decent defensive coverage, to be honest. Yes, never experiment the positions on players when you've got a win. I mean, Madrid is winning without an actual striker. The thing with Bruno, though, is this has happened last season as well. That's my main gripe with it. Why does Bruno play on the right wing? You know, and sometimes it's to accommodate their course just behind Rashford. You know, decisions like that are very weird from Ten Hag. And the substitutions. Why do you prefer Gordon long-term over Mitoma? Well, for one, Mitoma could be rotated from time to time with the Europa League. I know he's played on start in most games this season, but that is still a potential issue. With Gordon also, I think Newcastle have been a bit more convincing. Their fixtures longer term, I'm talking about the next 10 to 15, are very good compared to Brighton's. And look, it's completely fair enough if you want to go for Mitoma, but for me, Gordon's been more consistent in recent weeks as well. And apart from the yellow cards, and you know, apart from that, I think he's a very good option. He's also cheaper too. Mason Pound think he's joining a real club. Yeah, somehow United are still above Chelsea, which is, I mean, both should be much higher. I honestly don't know how, you know, they're struggling mid-table. Basuma says 79 points this week. Good stuff. That's a good score. There's a lot of good scores this week, actually. And it's just mainly those without Haaland, maybe Salah. One of those 2 players who have been struggling. Your take on Haaland long-term? He's got potential. You know, he's one of the joint top scorers in the Champions League for a reason. He has gone 007 in the league, but, you know, don't really pay attention to all this. You know, he's a young player. He's just come into the league. If you look at the XGI for all these United players, it's awful. It really is. All these attackers, whether it's Anthony, Rashford, Sancho, Haaland himself, they just don't create enough. And Bruno is kind of the only one who can do that. What club do you support in the Premier League? Arsenal. I support Arsenal in the Premier League, but in terms of FPL, I don't let that affect my thinking. Yeah, I can be biased sometimes. We all are. But in terms of FPL, I try to be objective as possible. So yeah, and as for the team that I'm wearing right now, that is Rosario Central. That is my Argentinian team. And of course, the Argentina national team is another one that I have supported for, well, my whole lifetime, really. So yeah, it's been a nice stream. I'll answer any other questions I'm getting, but yeah, even the chat is kind of bugging out for me as well. Need to get Haaland now. That's what I mean. 1 week just changes everyone's perceptions on certain things. Do I sell Palmer to a Dingra or sell a doggy? If a doggy, who do I sell him to? If a doggy is clear to play, and that's why I'm saying wait until later in the week, I'd keep a doggy and sell Palmer. And look, Palmer to a Dingra, it's really just a fixtures play, and I'm not a massive fan of a Dingra either, to be quite honest with you. And if anything, I'd rather go to Gordon, long-term, Hwang Hee-chan, etc. Pranav says 63, no Haaland, Watkin captain, trusting on consistency rather than 100 in one game week. Yeah, look, I mean, in recent weeks, I've been fairly consistent, but I want to have that one massive week as well. That's what I lack this season. Apart from game week 1, where I got 85 points and I was around 200k. You know, it's been very, very hit and miss. And last week I got 80 points, but it wasn't a massive rank rise either. So yeah, it's just not been good enough. White and Tomiyasu, which fullback do you prefer? Well, look, since last year, White has been more consistent. But Tomiyasu, I have to say, in recent games has been one of Arsenal's best players. I really like Tomiyasu as the left back. He's offering Arsenal something different. And he's even offering attacking threat, which was crucial in scoring against Man City too. Are Tsimikas and Darwin still good transfers? Of course. But with Darwin, I think the main fixture to target was Forest at home that just came now. Tsimikas, yeah, with Robertson out, he's a good long-term option too. Best of doggy replacement, Tsimikas for me. If you already have Tsimikas, I'd be looking at an Arsenal defender too, and Crystal Palace. So it just depends who you don't have. I don't know what your situation is. Cannon Fodder says, yeah, I'm going to be struggling over who to replace for Neto, Gordon, Matoma, and Bumo Hwang. We'll probably go for Gordon in the end. My personal favourite is Gordon. I'm looking beyond, the upcoming fixture and their recent result. In terms of long-term fixtures, the consistency they've shown, I think Gordon's been the best. In Bumo as well, to be fair, he's been really good, but I'd probably wait until the next 3 games have cleared. 77 -4, but sold in Boomer. Yeah, that's a bit unlucky. I think he could be making his way back in Game Week 14. Yeah, same here. You following the Cricket World Cup? I'll be honest, I don't watch cricket. I watched a bit of rugby because of Argentina, but I don't really watch cricket, rugby, and all these sports. I watch a bit of tennis, especially when it was in its prime. F1 as well, when it's a bit interesting, but yeah. I choose Varane over Bruno, says Weiseng. To be fair, though, Varane is injured most of the time. I don't even know why he was benched here. Looking to make money to bring Trippier in later down the line. Yeah, fair enough, Goldhead. I don't know your exact team situation, to be honest, so it's difficult for me to say if it's the best thing to do for your team, but I still like Trippier long term. How to transform White to an actual right back? To be fair, White's always had qualities on the ball, and also just his positional sense, which I'm not saying now. I never expected White to be a right back. Let me make that clear. But, looking at it in retrospect, it does make sense why he did it. And it also was to facilitate Saliba in the team. Remember, before last season, White was playing as a centre-back. And because Arteta wanted to fit Saliba into the squad, he also accommodated White as the right back too. Will Neto play? I can't tell you definitively yes or no. But in my opinion, he won't. Thoughts on Everton 12-point deduction? It's not confirmed yet. But if they get a 12-point deduction and City are also charged guilty, are they going to go National League? I'm just putting the question out there. What do you think of people bringing Harry Maguire for Burn? I still think Newcastle are way better defensively. They're a much better team overall. And the fixtures long-term are great for Newcastle, so I just don't see it myself, to be honest. Fair enough, it's Brandon. I just don't like cricket, if I'm being honest. I played it a few times when I was a kid. Very, very, amateur level, just at primary school. So literally, I just don't watch cricket. It's just the way it is. Who to sell between Burn and Share? I'd still rather sell Share, to be fair. Yeah. Dan Burn is a little bit cheaper. I think he offers better value for money. They're both fine, to be honest. Yeah, fair enough. Twisted Parky, and also he was quality at Leeds before he even joined Brighton. Today was awful, embarrassing from us lot. Definitely the worst defence in World Cup history, says Cannon Fodder. Fair enough. And by the way, very surprised with Brighton. I thought they'd score 3 or 4 past Fulham. Who to bench, Maddison or Mbeumo? I'd bench Mbeumo, but honestly, ideally you'd start both. So yeah, whoever you bench, you could end up, a bit frustrated. Where is Duffy now, says Weiseng. Bench one of Trippier, Doggy or Saka next week. I'd bench a Doggy, just based on the ceiling. I think Trippier and Saka's ceilings are way higher than a Doggy. If a Doggy's cleared to play, of course, it's going to be a difficult decision for you. And look, it's not an easy answer, but I'd just probably bench a doggy for that reason. Botman updates, well, just what we had last week, and he's probably going to be available for Game Week 12. So yeah, he's going to miss out against Arsenal and probably be available for Game Week 12 or 13. So yeah, that's really it. There's not much more to add to it. Lascelles is kind of a short-term punt. He did well last week. I should have started him. This week, of course, he was pretty awful. And it's just, I don't know what happened to the Newcastle defenders. All of them got a yellow card, it seemed, and also a 0-pointer, with the exception of Fabian Schär. So yeah, we've been streaming for an hour and 12 minutes, a bit of a short stream. You know, normally in reaction streams, we kind of stream for 2 hours-ish or something like that. But unfortunately, a few people who have been watching have experienced some issues. Hopefully in the playback, it's all good. And of course, if you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. That'd be greatly appreciated as well. Is Saka a must? No, he's not a must, because you might have Son instead. And that definitely means he's not a must. But is Saka one of the best Arsenal options? He's the best, yeah. But he's not a must-have. Those charges against City won't come to anything. Yeah, I agree. Especially with the lawyers that City have. Even if they are guilty, I just don't think they'll be charged. We all know they're shady, but nothing can be done. Yeah, and look, I'm not going to play this conspiracy theory card, but very, very strange when you've got the Ake disallowed, no, it didn't even get disallowed, Ake's handball goal against Fulham. You've got the Kovacic not being sent off against Arsenal, the penalty today, which is never given typically. And all of those decisions involve Michael Oliver, a referee who's paid by the United Arab Emirates, and of course, in turn, the Man City owners. So it's just very strange. You know, you kind of set yourself up for criticism and also conspiracy theorists based on, you know, your appointments of referees and their stupid decisions. So I don't know. It's just the way it goes. Well, you actually Edie for Game Week 10 as the deadline was so short. Yeah, I'm not so sure what you mean by that, but I have no issues with other streams if that's what you're asking. Is Watkins still essential? To be honest, he's never essential. You know, let's put it that way. In a game week like 10, he seemed essential because he faced Luton Town. But look, without Watkins instead, you can have Alvarez. In a certain week like Darwin, he can do really well. Overall, do I think Watkins is the second best forward in the game? Yes, I do, up until Game Week 15. But he's not absolutely essential, no. There's a lot of politics in the Premier League, it's not that simple. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm not going to really add too much more to that. So what's your transfer plans now? I'm quite happy with my team next week. I just need to get the captaincy decision spot on, I think. I think my bench speaks for itself too. I'll talk about this in my team selection video. Things can certainly change. If an injury happens, then I could be forced into action, but I'd be quite happy to roll. Were you actually ready for the Game Week 10 as the deadline was too short? Yeah, I was ready for Game Week 10. I streamed the other day. It all went well. And yeah, I was quite happy with my 11 and everything else. I basically set my team up in advance. I did the transfers the night before, so I could just focus on people's questions too. Are we starting to see Gvardiol get nailed? But just bear in mind, Akanji was suspended for this game. And look, Akanji doesn't really compete for Gvardiol most of the time, but that could be an issue. It's mainly Ake versus Gvardiol, and the Croatian is first choice right now, but that doesn't mean Gvardiol will start every single game, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's benched for Game Week 11. I'm not saying for those that have him to sell, or that he's definitely going to be benched. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Thanks, Dylan, but I have a doggy too. Is he a sell? I don't think he's a priority sell. Look, let me put it this way, and I don't want to repeat myself, but it's literally my opinion on it. So, a doggy is currently flagged. He has a doubt for Game Week 11. In my personal opinion, he'll be available and he will play. I think maybe there was a bit of a risk against Crystal Palace, so he was saved for that game, and Chelsea's very important. So I would wait for later in the week, see if there are any updates. If he is still a doubt, I'd probably just sell to eliminate that risk, a bit like Botman a few weeks ago. However, if Postecoglou clears him, why sell him? You know, Chelsea are struggling to score goals. A doggy still has some decent fixtures here and there, so I don't think it's an absolute must sell if he is fit. Captaincy has make or break this season, yeah, and in my case, it's an absolute break because, yeah, my captaincy hasn't been the worst, you know, of all time, but haven't really nailed on the highest scoring captains in most weeks, apart from Haaland in Game Week 3, I think it was, and Game Week 1. Thank you, Abhishek, I appreciate it. Shane Duffy is at Norwich, along with another ex-Albion player, Ashley Barnes. Yeah, I completely forgot about Shane Duffy, to be honest. My team is the same as yours, except Son for Saka and Neto for Diaby. Early thoughts on Neto to someone even cheaper. Yeah, I'd probably go to Gordon Goldhead. It might not be great for Game Week 10, but it is long term. Do you think Alvarez should be developed to become Messi, KDB type player? Yeah, I don't think Alvarez will ever get to that level technically or in terms of passing, but he's a bit of a hybrid. He's an all-round good attacker. He reminds me a bit of Suarez, really good high pressing. He might not have that technical ability either, but he kind of reminds me of that kind of chaotic striker who causes absolute mayhem for the other team. He's just always so difficult. For me, he's the best pressing forward in the world. Captain Saka got away with one, with Salah only getting 1 goal, got 67 this week. Yeah, and look, I got away with Salah a few weeks ago. I was also very fortunate with Salah with that gift by Turner. So FPL is about luck sometimes. You've got to take it when you get it. Going against Salah for a while, though. Yeah, Luton Town could be a big issue next week, but let's wait and see. In either case, you can still do well without him. 2020 World Up, one-day World Cup, Ashes in the last few years. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it was good while it lasted. This is cannon fodder. Xander also says, any specific tips for people that are planning to wildcard Gameweek 19? But do we sell Haaland, for example, earlier before the 18 blank to try and get the most out of all the budget? That is a tricky one to navigate. It is. And I wouldn't be surprised if some people also consider to maybe free hit in Gameweek 18 when the blank does take place. So that could also be something else to think about. But I'll be honest, I haven't given it much thought. And my plan is probably just to roll, keep Haaland for all that time, and then probably triple captain him potentially in Gameweek 20 if they get a double game week. But obviously, look, that double game week hasn't been confirmed yet, and that could also play a big part as well. But let's say, for example, you are looking to sell him. What are you going to do? Because in Gameweek 16, he faces Luton, right? In Gameweek 17, another good fixture. You could sell him for Gameweek 18 and then try have 2 free transfers for Gameweek 19 to then bring him back in. But it's not that simple, and you probably have to take a hit to bring Haaland back in. So, yeah, with wildcards, I think that's very good. That's a really good way of going about it. I think the way I'd probably tackle it if I still had the wild card and I wanted to keep it for that long, I think I would consider maybe wildcarding in 19. But like I said, what you'd basically do is sell Haaland in Gameweek 18 alone, use those 2 free transfers, maybe go to Son, Saka, Haaland, Salah, Son, Saka, Trippier, etc. All these big options who cost a lot of money, and then wildcard Haaland back in for Gameweek 19. So yeah, it's a tricky one, I think. I'm at 250 point mark now. Do I have a chance to enter top 3 or 5 million till Gameweek 20? Well, yes, it's still a long way to go, but I'm assuming you did start quite late on. And if that's the case, then of course, there's always going to be a lot of catching up to do. Before that, I thought Pep will make Alvarez a new Aguero. Yeah, he's also a bit similar to Aguero, to be fair, but I do think Alvarez is way better in terms of pressing, and Aguero is a much better goal scorer. I have a soft spot for for New Zealand, so I felt kind of bad. I heard it was a robbery. I don't know rugby enough to really, give my opinion, but I heard that they were kind of robbed a little bit in terms of decisions yesterday. Having keto pizza tonight. Enjoy. I had pizza yesterday, homemade. 69 points for my first ever FPL game week. I mean, it's good. I don't think I got that in my first ever game week, although to be quite frank, I don't remember. So that is a good score, of course. And yeah, that should be technically is a green arrow anyway because he just started. But yeah, that's a good score for most people. So good stuff. Well done. Alvarez has decent shooting. Yeah, he does. He definitely does. But in terms of goal scoring, that instinct and consistency, I don't think he's quite there to that Aguero level. Nowhere near. I don't think he'll get to that. But he is young and there's a long way to go. I think when he was in Argentina, in terms of under 23 players, he was in the top 3 or 4 highest scoring players in the world. And of course, Argentina's a weaker league, but I have to say to you, the Argentinian league is also very defensive, competitive, a lot of 1-0 games. So it's very, very competitive from that sense. So yeah, thank you to everyone for tuning in. It has been a blast talking to you for the next for the last hour or so. Buzzing for Ricardo tonight, yeah. 4th place, really good qualifying by him. And actually, before his injury, I had him in my F1 fantasy team, and he was doing all right for me. So he was very unlucky to get that hand injury, and hopefully he can do well today in the race. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe for new. Our aim is to get this stream to over 100 likes. There's going to be much more FPL and UCL fantasy content to come. Unfortunately, YouTube haven't been great in the last couple of days, and today's stream has been impacted for some viewers. I do apologize, but like I said, not much I could do from my end. I'll see if there's anything I could do maybe in the future. But like I said, I think it's a server issue. If you haven't already, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the other links in the description below, like the Patreon, Channel Memberships, Discord server, and the FPL League. Cannon Fodder says top 4 races is going to be interesting this year. Yeah, I think the title is probably still City's, or they're the most likely to. Arsenal being the most likely to challenge, with Liverpool 3rd. And yeah, in terms of 4th, Nah, Liverpool aren't dropping out. I think they're definitely quite solidified in my top three. I think Spurs, it's between Spurs, Newcastle, and probably, I mean, as things stand, Aston Villa look very good. But yeah, I think the way it will go is hopefully Arsenal win the league. But yeah, City are most likely to win the title, Arsenal second, Liverpool third, and then in fourth, it's between Newcastle and Spurs for me. Who are you captain next game week? As things stand, Haaland, but I might just flip a coin and go Salah. It's between those two for me. We're talking cricket, lol. Have we switched to rugby? Yeah, I saw someone mention New Zealand. That's why I talked about it, to be honest. If New Zealand playing cricket, I didn't know. I had no idea either. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you very soon for more FPL and UCL fantasy content. Let me know down in the comment section if the stream is unimpacted in terms of the playback and if things are smooth. Hopefully that's the case, but I'll see you very soon for more FPL and UCL fantasy content.